Welcome to the Karting Roundtable, where karting's biggest voices come together to talk racing, news, competition, and everything happening in our sport. And you can join the conversation. Have a question or hot take? Drop it in the chat. We'll be watching your comments throughout the show. Grab a seat, turn it up, and get ready. Kart starts now.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's Karting Roundtable. I'm going to switch over here to the main scene and bring our roundtable guest in this week. All right, we got Alex, Four Takes and Fuel, Aussie, one half of the Prater and Son FB YouTube, Peyton Ramsey, Ultimate Kart Media, Ben Taff, Kart 6T3. You were in the chat last week, but didn't get to make the conversation, so excited to have you here. And then we got Nick Bishop, the one and only Degenerate of Degenerate Garage. Welcome in, guys.
How's it going?
How goes it?
What's up?
So I'm excited about this topic. You know, we had some good banter on different pages about, you know, what this topic should be, and I think it kind of lends itself to some great conversation, starting with really rules in general. You know, it was Black Hat Speed, Justin Collier, who had kind of made the comment about, you know, who's responsible for changes that need to be made to rules or suggesting changes. And I know that was specific to engines because there was a post made out there that talked about limited clone rules. And it kind of starts with the conversation on Facebook and then what happens after that. So maybe we can just kind of get into it. So the rules in karting, you know, what's everybody's thoughts on kind of what you're seeing in your area and how consistent it is track to track or series to series and what that looks like?
There are no rules.
I know one thing we struggled with for a little while was the Gulf Coast Predator stuff. I mean, that was kind of like the Wild West for a little bit, like trying to figure out good rules. And there's actually some things that are still kind of working through right now, but it's got like a huge structure. So like, I'm all for having, I don't like gray areas. I like white and black. I mean, it is what it is. And you make a call and you go with it, you know? So that's one of our areas we've been doing, and just trying to get tech better. Tech is extremely crucial because, I mean, especially with these predators and stuff, you can do a lot to them, and even down to like drilling a hole in the air box, you know, and that's illegal. So just teching's a huge thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a broad sport, right? Across the board, you know, we've got essentially two different levels. We've got the level that we all started with in our backyard, the small tracks, the Friday night stuff, the Saturday night stuff. That's going to be rules that are set by the track, and then, you know, we've got this grand stage that we're all trying to compete on when, you know, when they break the big dollars out. I think that's where the rule book needs to be black and white across the board, you know, getting into that. And obviously those classes, engines going to be the biggest thing. You know, but when you kind of branch off into the Predator, it kind of becomes, you know, back to the local side of things. I think that's what they were trying to do with the Ducar. You know, you see a lot of it, but it took that local level guy out.
Okay, I guess I'll say this has been a topic that I kind of, you know, have been doing UAS for 20 years. That's the thing that, you know, not separates. Obviously, horsepower separates us, but we have this set of rules. And no matter from East Coast to West Coast, up, down, left, right, we all follow the same rules. You can go anywhere in the country and run a race as long as you fit into these set of rules. And I don't know that I see a ton of change up here in the Northeast. You know, we're AKRA. And from what I know, you know, both WKA, AKRA, and NKA, the clone rules are the same now. When you get into the kids classes and everything, that's where it's, you know, the green plate, red plate, whatever. And it's like, you know, just get on the same page, kind of, you know, take that template the UAS has. Here's the set of rules. No matter where you go in the country, this is what you do. And I get, you know, that, you know, Predators and stuff or Ducars may do different things in different areas, but if they all had the same rules, the same, and just apply them here, okay, you're good. You know, I don't know how you achieve that, but I'd like to see that, just so I know that if I want to take my clone somewhere, I don't have to worry about anything. Hey, I got the same engine as everybody else.
So just recently with the Predator rules, around here in the Midwest, we've had issues with them not being aligned. And the thing with that is you have some Predator rules at some races that are purely clone based, that there's holes in the rules for Predators. So people are coming from previous tracks with different rules, and this track that they came to that has a hole in the rules, they just assume something that always ends up having like tech, or the track always ends up having an issue with it. And I've actually seen that quite a bit recently. Just people assuming certain things in Predator classes that at the end of the day got them took out of the race.
Yeah, going back to what Ben said, the clone stuff is pretty much the same. You have to clarify, to the tech man what rule package your motor was built to. We always have this issue around here. It's like everyone else has said, the Predator / Ducar stuff. That's where your biggest engine rule stuff is kind of went out the window. And as far as the rest of that stuff goes, you got to look at the tire rules also. I mean, compared to where you guys is at, compared to where I'm at, it's totally different. So with all these different tire manufacturers that we got going on right now, it's just we're not going to be able to get on the same rule package as far as tire goes.
Yeah. No, like I just it's really nice to have the clones on the same ordeal, because it was hearsay that one package would create more horsepower than the other, and then you could only race. I know down in Florida it was
NKS or
hello.
You did.
You're back.
I glitched it. Okay. Cool. Yeah, no, so like that's what I'm saying. Like it does get down to like, so it's kind of like the same thing all over the country. Is like when you get down to those Predators and those Ducars, like I know like some people run Ducars with like full blown, mufflers now. Some keep the stock. Right there, that's a push and a pull thing. For a long time, we tried to wonder why we didn't run Ducars down here, just make it seamless as possible. And like I said last week, Batesville adopts the class that we kind of grew down here, and it's like, well, we don't really need to kind of swap to Ducar, because Batesville didn't take over Ducar. Well, they took over Gulf Coast, and like you can run it at Kenny's shows and stuff like that. It's like it's just a mess a little bit.
I think Ducar should be the example to be kind of set across the board. I think all Ducars should be the same. I think I speak because our Predator class is pretty good. We have 3 tracks within an hour from each other. We got 2 tracks in Ocala. One's a Friday night shootout, just fun, small track. And we got a bull ring, which is huge. But, and then OSP, Original Speedway Park, it's a simple rule. It's out the box. You can't delete the governor. You can pin the governor back so that, you take it out of the equation, but you can't do anything eternal on it. But everyone still takes them apart and puts them back together. And you're like, guys, this is so that somebody can go buy a $100 motor with a $800 go-kart, slap a set of tires out here, and figure out if this is the life he wants to live. So, someone, fire too many classes. Someone just said that Predators aren't really good for the sport, and I would almost say it's kind of close for it, because there's so many people that take advantage of it. You're like, if it was set out to be a true $100 motor when it goes on sale to come out and just have some fun, I think it would work.
The Predator itself is good for the sport. The problem with the Predator and the Ducar is there's not enough of clarity on the rules, and there's not enough enforcement on the rules. This stuff is the perfect package to get people into the sport. They're a cheap motor. They're not expensive to run. You don't have to have brand new tires to compete in these classes, and unfortunately, there's not enough enforcement to keep some of these higher teams out of that class. But that all falls back on the promoters, and race directors and stuff like that. But that's another topic.
I ran Predator for a year and a half. Like,
say I am not the one commenting.
No, and I don't think there's anything wrong with Predator. I haven't said our Predator is a lot different than a lot of other people's in the country. Like ours is a full blown built Predator. Like we got stuff going on. It ain't box stock at all. So I think it's a great class. I think those are great entry classes. I mean, I watched you grow, Nick, and your videos with yours. I mean, it was really cool. Even down to like the hobby at the Southern Thunder when y'all were on whites and stuff like that. Like, it's cool. Like, you know, you can grow from it, you know. So
It's the easiest way to, not to say easiest way to get in sport, but when you take out the equation of, okay, this guy spent X amount of money on his motor, or there's this or that and the other. It's like, okay, there's a baseline of people that aren't spending $1 million that just want to go out and hang out Saturdays, turn some laps, compete, throw it in the garage, hit it with a hose and some simple green, and go do it again in 2 weeks.
yeah.
And there's a group of people that take from that. But, my first time going to Callahan, I went to Callahan thinking I'm going to run a Predator, and I show up and everyone's got a built motor and exhaust and a fuel pump. I'm like, I'm not in the wrong place.
Yeah, so, Peyton, you made the comment from, promoters are trying to kind of table that for another time, but isn't that part of the discussion too? Again, all these engine rules, I mean, it happens because there's something, black and white, but somebody somewhere decides, well, we're going to do things different. I mean, isn't that how the Gulf Coast Predator kind of came to exist? Or
some tracks, they allow anybody to run those classes, and we always talk about, trying to figure out how to get more people into the sport and stuff like that. And when you show up, and you're running an entry level class, and and you got the guy that's been winning medium and heavy out there every single weekend signing up, that is discouraging, but for newcomers, it wouldn't be for us because we've been there, we all compete, so it's okay that we have to race against them, but rewind to when you first started, it can get discouraging pretty quick.
No doubt.
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
The guys down here, they tried they did when the Ghost Predator came out. They went Ghost Predator and a Champ cart. Had to be out the box. You couldn't do anything to it. You had to bring it in the box, and then they would mark the Ghost Predator up and any kind of seal or anything it may be. Once they took it out of the box, and they had a pretty good turnout. They ran for probably a year or 2 years of pretty good group.
The LO206 motor right now is in my opinion what needs to be the sealed engine class. The Duke cars and the Predator stuff here in my area has got out of hand. You look at Millbridge, most of their stuff is on them LO206 motors, and they're thriving. They're sealed motors. I think that's the way to go, especially for entry level.
The crate class that you guys see me run for a year or two that Jackson got me in, man, it was the best. It was a sealed motor. It's unfortunate you can only get 15, 20 races out of them, and then there was no more to be found. But it was $300. It was sealed. Like, there was nothing else you could do about it. You made sure you clean your carburetor. You made sure everything stayed as free and lubricated and oil changed as much as you can. And you just went out and raced. And you could see it on track, that you could really, you just couldn't do anything. You had to wait for someone to slip up or really work to get them. And I credit some of my driving towards that.
Yeah, you brought up the Ghost. We do have a Ghost class up here in New York, and they're mostly Southern tier in New York. They run kind of wedge bodies, but the thing about it is they run these high run tires, whatever, they're knobbies, and I just have a hard time getting with that. I'm a slick guy, and it's not even treads so much as these high run things. They're not meant to do what they're asking them to do, but I guess it puts everybody on an even playing field. And from what I know, you can't do anything to the Ghost. You buy it, you put a clutch on it, and run it. That's that. And I'm like, all right, that's okay. It's just their choice of tires is kind of like, no thanks, I'm good.
Chaos Possum, you can go to I can't think of the name of it, right near you. Ambassador has a rentals, track stuff, easy to get into, and they're building a dirt oval. All right, I'm done. I was reading comments. Yeah, so Ben, those were lawnmower tires you're talking about?
Yeah,
like legitimate.
Yeah. They ran them indoors. Like, we have Syracuse indoors, Coke syrup, whole nine. People run Burrs 33s. Do whatever to them. And they went out there and just squawked the entire track. And it's just like, oh, for the love of Pete. I'm glad they have them. But the one thing, they were tearing up the Coke syrup. So all the guys running the standard clone classes were just like, the track's off. And it's just like right there. That's why the track's off. Glad to have them. But also, like, when they're tearing stuff up, all your good surface, all your good grip is just gone away. it's just a weird decision to have made, but to each their own.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back with the big debate on tires. As far as classes goes, like if you're going to race treaded, I think everybody can argue if it's a treaded or a slick, but you got to have a slick track. You race slick tracks tires. If you're going to race treaded tires, you got to race treaded tires. Like it's two different driving styles and it's two different track surfaces, and they're both fighting each other the entire day.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. I guess that's kind of the big debate, and we were kind of going back and forth too in the chat that was happening there. I guess I'll give everyone a chance to kind of say their piece. But if you were writing a rule for 2027, what's your perfect tire rule?
My perfect tire rule is every racetrack has open tire, and then you have series that comes in and rents the racetrack for the weekend with a tire rule. I mean, yeah. Don't get me wrong. It'll bite you. It's gonna bite you if it rains 3 inches of rain. You got to make sure you load the Yellow Vegas up.
I was gonna say that being back on the UAS thing, been doing it for 20 years. Open tire has its benefits. Everybody, I want an open tire. It's just like, do you? Because I'm going down to Morrison, Tennessee. Never been there. I'm taking everything I have. That's kind of open tire. I know, my opinion on that is some people that say open tire down south just want Maxxis back. I don't blame me at all. Maxxis great tire, and they're tired of Reaper. Who knows? But it's just like, do you truly want open tire? Because if you travel anywhere, you better bring the trailer. And you need multiple sets of everything. I got multiple sets of Maxxis pinks and blues here, and whites, and baggy yellows, and Burris. And I'm like, I don't know what the day's going to call for down there. I've heard kind of everything works at that track or could work at that track. And you don't want to get stuck, running at a track where you don't have what it takes. And it's like, well, do you really want open tire? Because
I don't mean this in a bad way, but like 90% of your racetracks you can go to, you can get away with a white Maxxis and a pink and blue Maxxis most of the time.
Yeah,
most of the time you can make both of those sets of tires work. So I guess unless you see weather or you've heard through the grapevine, it's going to be a really super slick racetrack and stuff like that. Like I think you can kind of get
unless the racetrack's pretty like sopping wet. An open tire rule is basically saying Maxxis, rather that be white or the pinks and blues. In my opinion, and I might be different than a few of y'all, but if we're talking about trying to get everybody on the same page here a little bit and working towards unity, then the only way to do that is to implement a tire rule, in my opinion. Now, which brand? That's the $1 million question. If you go open, it's just going to, in my opinion, open is too. There's too many variables out there as far as open tires go, because it's like people have said, Vegas, pinks and blues, whites, and stuff like that. Oddly enough, I would have to implement a rule if I was in charge.
That's so interesting because like my argument to a tire rule is okay. So like down here, I had a 12 set rotation of Maxxis going into the year. They cut out and they were like, nope, every single racetrack's going Reaper. I just lost out on all 12 sets of those tires. Got to sell them to someone that's not around this area. Got to buy Reapers. And okay, maybe a racetrack opens up on Maxxis. You got to start buying Maxxis to be quick. Yep. I think that the tough thing is y'all see that, Peyton. You got to drive multiple hours to go run Maxxis. You want to run Reapers and treads.
As soon as Reapers took over this area for us, we didn't jump ship right away. We still raced Maxxis, and we had to drive and travel. And the problem was when all those tracks finally went Reaper, we were behind the 8 ball. Everyone else done had 2 or 3 years experience on these tires. We didn't have a tire cycle and an age cycle, I should say, and we struggled the first year running it. But now that we, got through that and have a little bit of a cycle, it's all good. As far as Maxxis and stuff goes, at any given time you can roll a set of Maxxis and take them probably anywhere in the country and be competitive. As far as the brand goes on the rule, that's going to be strictly based off of what area y'all are from. People, down south, they really love the Vegas. People up north love the Burris. People out west love the Burris. That's the $1 million question right now. Is the tire?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to come up and say, "Hey, we got to make a perfect class that or a perfect tire rule that's across the board," it's going to have to be somewhat of a modified open tire class. Something we run here. All of our rookies, they're on a yellow Vega, so let's carry that over. Let's just say we got a rookie class, junior one, maybe they're on a Vega. Let's pick a tire that's going to suit the class. So then, let's say it's open class, but open class is your mediums, your super heavies, and your heavies that are running for the good money. Let that be open. Let's say that hey, we need a hobby class. Well, whether if it's Predator 212 or maybe a clone rookie class that runs a Reaper. Let the open tires be open tires, and then we run it here where Vega comes in. They sponsor money. We run open tire all day long. Any of the day, Vega goes, all right, guys, put the Vegas on. Let's go see who wants $500. And we go out there and we race because Vega stepped in and said, hey, I'm putting the money up on my tire. And then, kind of what Alex said, when you want to run the events or you want to have a Velocis series or whatever Florida karting series, a Vega series, AJC series, that's a whole nother conversation. And that tire can vary between different areas, I think. But it's hard to say, hey, from Florida all the way to California, let's figure out a rule that fits everybody, because that's not going to work, unfortunately.
That's the thing, and it's like this. If I have to go, like I know people up in New York. If I want to go up there, I know that I'm gonna pretty much have to buy burrs. A lot of the tracks up there are burst tire rules, so I got to do my research and figure out what kind of burst tires I need. If I want to come down to Florida, for that Vegas series, I got to prepare and have Vegas ready, or go out west somewhere, So if you're a racer and you're going to race as much as you can and you're going to travel, you're going to have these tires anyway. Like I said, I like the idea you had, Nick, about it's like it's a tire rule, but it's a modified rule. Like it's going to vary what track you're at. It's going to vary what class you run, stuff like that. That's a pretty good idea.
Yeah. So when's a good time? I'll ask you all, and not just for tires, but engine rules and whatever else. When's a good time of year, do you think, for the powers that be to release a new tire rule? Obviously, we just saw that the 2026 Reaper was released, and then now we're faced with, and Alex touched on that too. Now we're faced with all these rules, kind of mid racing season, and maybe for some racing season is year round. So when's a good time, you think, to announce or get everybody ready to go? I know AKRA is pretty good about doing it kind of January-ish.
Yeah, it's got to be on the physical year. I mean,
I think it's got to really be. I mean, if you take the first 3 quarters, you put everything together, and you're into Q3, beginning of Q4. I just think you got to know what you're getting into on the next year to plan. I'm a big planner on my years. I think you got to know, okay, I just got this engine refresh for Thanksgiving. I can run it into January and stuff. I know they do give some leeway with the engine rules, but I think it's very, very important. It's got to be out at least 2 to 3 months before the end of the year. That's just where I'm at, so you can plan. Because, I mean, it screws the engine builders. The engine builders, you hear every year, every time they make a rule change, they got 30, 40 back on the floor. They're tripping over engines, how many engines they got to do. So, I mean, it's great for busy season, but, you could kind of make things less headache if you get it out a little earlier.
I bought my first clone. It was a 2024. It was November. And guess what they did in 25?
Yeah, redone the rules.
I redid mine after Batesville to get ready for 2025, and then they changed everything.
I was getting ready for Daytona. I was fast in Daytona with that freshie, but everyone else was moving on. Right. They said, we're not bringing up good stuff.
There's something that could be instituted. I know I keep on mentioning UAS, and I apologize for that, but every 2 years is when, as a group, we vote on the rules. Hey, what are the administrators of every region get a vote on it? That's not how everything's going to work in that, but how about make, engine rules, stuff like that every 2 years? And that'd be difficult to implement, but also it would give people time to not be so, if they make an engine rule in January, having all these engine builders scramble everything. If it's every 2 years, you're good for 2 years. And then, all right, let's see what comes into the fray. I know that it's never going to happen, but it would be something that would kind of slow down everybody freaking out every time a new, cam comes out or whatever.
I mean, this is probably going to get somebody in trouble here, myself, I guess. But, we're not we're not talking. Everything's done behind closed doors, right? You know, obviously we're out talking about this, and that's why we're here, just so we can talk about it from our different areas. But like, hey, here's the rule. Like, you know, there's some insider information, right? But there's no real court that says, hey guys, this is what we're looking at. You know, I think Brian Mansfield does a good job with the Velocity series. You know, just because I'm involved with that and I see his and maybe it is going on. But you know, I get a WKA membership and I get a thing in the mail and I vote for somebody I've never met, and who knows what he's doing. But
right.
You know,
Get your name on the ballot, Nick. You got my vote out southeast.
Yeah.
Degenerate garage. I'm voting that all day. But you know, I think about y'all all made excellent points. You know, but again, going back to the limited conversation, which is what Black Hat Speed was really touching on. I think I don't want to speak for him, but the EC carburetors rule package for limited clones is one set of package that from some people that maybe are negative on that would say, okay, this is a manufacturer of a product that stands to benefit from the rule package, right? And you've got promoters that have now used that because it's the only one sitting out there. Well, you've got engine builders who want it to look and really be more like what a flathead roll package is, just to make it easier and cheaper and less expensive for the sport. So you've got engine builders who are pro less expensive rules and trying to make it easier for everybody. But yet you've got, you know, promoters at the same time that are kind of like, well, this is the only rule book we have that we can show you. So, you know, again, I don't know how that ends up happening, but, you know, where's the rule governing body to help with a change like that?
we're talking politics now, Daniel.
Oh, I don't do well in that. I don't do well in that space. Okay, we can subject.
I don't know. I just follow the rules or try to follow the rules. I think I've tried to I would say set an example, but you know, I always try to fly by what I know is right, and unfortunately not everyone does that, but I don't know. I think you can't even get your hands on the rule book unless you own a track either or you run a series. If I'm not mistaken. I have it, but it's 24. I can't say where I got it. I've broke it out before. I've went back to my trailer like, all right, motherfucker. Excuse my language.
Yeah, credit UAS though. I think you touched on a great point, Ben, and we've got Helena Harrison Wood, who's made the comment that it's because UAS, you know, has leadership. I mean, I think you know that's the bigger point here. You know, again, I think every 2 years might be much, depending on what's happening. You might have a change, but that you guys can put it up to a vote. It says a lot about the organization, and you know, again, how karting doesn't have something like that. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, it's somewhat crazy. Transparent. That's you know, just knowing who. If I were to, you know, I have no idea. I run AKRA when I run Kelowna up here. I don't know who to contact. No idea. That's if I have a question about my two-stroke, I know people, and I'm like, yep, here we go. What does this have to weigh? You know.
It's the funniest thing I'll say. This is making me laugh. We can't even get transparent parking maps. We can't even get names where people are parking. I'll just leave it at that. That's the transparency we got kind of in karting something. And it's not everyone. But that's yeah. Leave that at that.
If some of the people seen some of the names on the parking list I got beside me right now, they would flat out run away from this event coming up, you know, that we have. So that's probably got a little bit to do with it.
Yeah.
I ain't scared to get lapped.
That's my goal, not to get lapped.
Cologne has been a rough one for me, man. I don't know. I just don't know. I thought I'd be all right. You know, it's a slow go.
So I think what we're getting at, right?
Yeah, good.
No, I was gonna say I think what we're getting at is, you know, we'd like to see a little more front-facing rules or front-facing conversation prior to, hey, we're going to do this. Hey, we're going to do that. I'm not familiar with the UAS. You know, it's kind of new news to me here listening to that, but it sounds like it's just a group of guys that kind of love the sport at a different level and treat it to the best they can fairly across the board. rather than kind of what Daniel spoke on earlier. Hey, we're going to make this cam rule, right? Well, guess who owns all the cams, right? And then you get into the politics of, well, we've only got 500 of them. Well, 3 people just went and bought all 500 of them.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger issue now. Zach Powell said Don Gordner, I think that's Dino Don, who is, I think, on what, 4Cycle. He posts a lot on there. And again, I think that kind of goes to the point too, is if you're not on that website looking for a post, you don't know that there was something posted by somebody who, again, I'm not knocking Dino Don at all, and no way is this a dig on him, because I think he does great things for the sport, and he's the one guy that's doing the clinics or the certifications for engine builders or tech guys. So again, no way do I want to say anything negative on that. But again, it's the use of that website that, again, if I'm not checking on there, daily, weekly, whatever it is, I mean, how else does anybody else know what's going on? So
I check 4Cycle at least once a day. There's some interesting stuff on there.
That's probably
for sure.
Maybe a little more of an overarching thing that I think karting in whole has. I think we're all doing our part to bring it to light, and bring aspects of the sport to everything. But it's, I don't know when half these races are, unless it's on my feed and pops up every day on Facebook or whatever. It's just like I go to 4Cycle occasionally. I used to spend a lot more time there, but it's like I don't have enough time in the day to, I got a physical job, and then I do all this other stuff, and then running the channel. It's just like, man, I'm not sitting on my phone for hours trying to figure out this and that. But it's, tracks, everything else, putting out promotional stuff like, hey, we're having this giant race here. And it'd be like, oh, that's sweet. Now I know about it. And there's kind of, you can incorporate the rules and all that stuff into the thing, but just putting it out there so people know. I don't want to say people do a poor job at it. They could do a better job at it, just in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm not taking shots at anybody either. I just speaking from a sense of I'm somewhat new in the sport, and I found myself pretty deep in the sport, right? I couldn't tell you where to go and look. I can go to WKA and I can figure out what I'm doing in Daytona, but after that, I don't know much more about the website.
there's a question here, and this is not really related to what we're talking about, but for the benefit of everybody that might benefit from it. Chaos Possum Racing. What's a competitive kart, turnkey, and Predator Ghost class cost used? Any idea?
You're probably looking 3,500, 4,000.
No,
For a competitive kart.
I just built up a Predator kart with a Micron 5. Gave him a set of tires, wheels and tires. It was a 2015 Trick Olympic that I bought. It was cheap, so I was like, I'm going to buy this. I went through it, and I $1,700. That's set of tires, set of wheels, and my old Micron 5 on it, and I can make sure everything was good. And he had a good body on it. That's just out the box our 3-class Predator rules set up. Took the governor, did the governor thing. He's 100% by the books as far as when it comes to everything. But for him to set up, and he's gonna run the end of this year. We got 3 races left, and his goal is so that he can do hobby next year, or depending on where he wants to go. He's an older gentleman. He raced in his 90s, and he just wants to go into the sport. So I think you can get into the sport for anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000 and have a good time doing it. If you really, invested your time to putting in the time to learn how to be on the higher end. I suggest all the time not to drop anything over that. It's like, who's to say I spent $3,000 and it doesn't work? But we get back into the conversation of what motor class works for that.
Yeah, and rules, right? Because your rules might not look the same as Alex.
Yeah. I'll revert back to it again. This, the sealed crate class, it was on Maxxis whites. Had to have 2. I think we checked in 2 sets, and that was all you could have. You had 2 sets of Maxxis whites, a sealed motor, and you went out and run. If I had to put a budget on that, it would definitely be under $2,000. That was like a 2017 Millennium Factor. It was an older, a little bit older chassis. I think I paid $1,000 for it, but.
So maybe, okay, we'll go back to the conversation of like Firewater Tire Solutions. When you bring back a karting magazine that has rule updates and race promotion, need a physical copy once a month. This should be put out by AKRA or NKA, the ones that support. So, have we become too reliant on social media for updates, right? And again, the 4Cycle's out there. Peyton just made the comment. He looks at that daily, and so maybe it's not reinventing the wheel. It's just using that as the resource.
In my opinion, if Chasing Racing Illustrated came back today or whatever, they would have an overwhelming support of people subscribing or signing up for the mail list or whatever. Chasing Racing was amazing. If any of y'all got to see it, we looked into the magazine stuff or whatever. But the problem for us was this: we would have to reach out to so many people at different areas to put all this information in it. If we could travel every weekend and visit different locations and stuff, we was going to do that. But I think the magazine's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
At least a digital one. I think it'd be hard to really get a paperback, running.
I was gonna say your overhead gets too high, then whoever's providing it's asking who's gonna start paying the bills. Digital. I think the digital, like who is the number one at top of karting right now? Who sanctions everything? Who's the maker? Who's the number one rule maker? Who says the tires need to be this size or the chassis need to be this long?
I only hear about those rules when they get protested. So
I guess
those rules only come into play when people get protested. So
you said digital. Let's just say they have an app. You're in it. I pay a WKA membership. I'm just using that because I run Daytona. Okay, let's say I'm WKA. I've got my app. I paid my yearly thing. To race, whatever, I think it's $30-$40, but it's an app. I'm on it. My data is in there. It's not 100 people or different track, my race monitor or whatever it is. But, maybe you can set up to real-time alerts to where the races are at. There's a way that it can be done digitally for much cheaper than a magazine, but have that same.
Don't give away all these ideas, okay? Keep some of those ideas in the bank. We'll put them in the group chat.
I'm gonna have a degenerate garage for president hat on next time.
I'll buy it.
Hey, Prater versus Bishop. Prater versus Bishop.
There you go. Hey, so Ben, I was kind of hoping you'd chime in there because UAS also has. I think it's once a quarter magazine that comes out. It's digital.
Yep.
And you pay for it. It's something like $10 or something, but it goes toward the cost and, helps raise money. But again, we keep saying that the same thing, right? As, okay, who's doing what that's working? UAS seems to be the entity anyway, the governing body of that class that seems to be doing it right. And it's, so I guess my point is it can be done. It is being done. For UAS, why not karting as a whole?
I think it works for UAS because we are a novelty, and it's not a downgrade or anything. I absolutely love the class. Been doing it forever and all that stuff.
You're gonna get some hate mail for that. You're gonna get hate mail for that. I'm calling it now.
We're a smaller class that we have different regions and everything. But when you bring in what is it the amount of clones and predators versus how many UAS carts there are, that's my point. We're a lot smaller. I think that's why it's possible. Is it possible on a larger level? Absolutely. Now, somebody taking the reins and doing it is I don't know that anybody wants that headache to absorb all that and be writing all the time and putting this together. There's, I hate to bring it back to money, but there's got to be, for somebody to do it, there would have to be either an absolute desire for the love of the sport or a financial gain. Are they getting paid to do it? If they're getting paid to do it, if they can make some money off of it, I think people might take to that. Like, I love to write. I love, the sport and everything. We can do it. UAS, I don't think they make the magazine for profit. It's for the love, and it's easier on a smaller scale. But yeah, I'd absolutely love it. I was, you mentioned Chasing Racing. I made one Chasing Racing one time. I was at a VDK event and I sat outside pole, and a northerner's not supposed to do that. I got my butt whooped in the feature, but I was like, dude, I made Chasing Racing. Like, that was great.
I pay a $5 transponder fee every weekend.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a $1 sanction and body fee that goes into the pot of I mean, it's digital. It's not to say it would take a big team, but it wouldn't take a
Right.
lot in this day and age.
Yeah.
But everybody would need to have access for it, and it would have to have regions, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
But just from a notification standpoint, how beneficial it would be.
So to get back to the tire debate, I think that modified rule, Nick, that you had talked about seems to be what others were in agreement to. I think Peyton, were you saying you're in agreement to that too?
Yeah, having some kind of rule in play, but of course it's going to be very dependent on region and class.
Yeah, but not one
I
tire
don't think
owning everything.
I don't think we're in a world right now to where we can put a Reaper tire rule over the country or a Burris or whatever. I just don't see it.
No,
I
And
really
that's- I-
really
Go ahead.
support I've seen this quite a bit too. Just the open tire rule across everywhere, and then you have these big promoters that come in and they promote these races, and they can have their own tire rules and add them to or like Adam Johnson around here, he does his show, and then he has extra clone classes that are called pro classes, and you can run those pro classes, but they're AJC tire rule. And so your money classes are your tire rule, and then everything else is open.
Yeah.
Trophies
open.
And go back a little bit up in the comments. Zach Powell mentioned, a track that is dominantly Vegas and White Maxes. This past weekend at Cashmere, a guy took home a $500 bonus because he won on a Reaper tire. So it can be done under certain circumstances.
I'm looking for it. Saw that too.
And obviously, this is all slick talk. We haven't even broken to treaded debate.
Oh boy.
We talk lawnmower for a minute. Lawnmower tires for a moment.
Yeah, they're treads.
Yeah, and I agree with having some rules in play, but then it's like Ozzy said, kind of if Maxes or AJC or Burr, whoever wants to come in and put up a bonus or a pro class of their own, that's totally okay too.
Let them have the big race weekends too. Everyone's going to chase their own tire or whatever it may be, but to be sanctioned kind of sucks. I'd love to go race more, but it kind of goes on what we were talking about early. I got Maxis in Vegas. I was building my set of Reapers, but now I got to hit the reset button, right? I was excited for Daytona this year. I was going to show up with 8 or 9 good sets of tires that I've been collecting over the last year and a half, 2 years, and now I'm like, oh, reset.
Yep. That's been open tire almost this entire time, but locally running Burris, I bounce back and forth whether or not I like open or a tire rule, because when I go to AMS, my local bull ring there, I know it's Burris. I know 11s or 33s, and that's all I got to take. A couple sets of each, cool. And you're competitive on a weekly basis. Now, big races that, the big shows versus local is a whole different debate, what it takes to run and what's affordable or not.
So I think something that them to talk about there is like when a big show does come in and then all of a sudden you're running during the day and all you have is your Burris 33s, you've just been wiping and your Vegas, and all of a sudden it takes a Maxxis tire and someone comes over with a Maxxis tire and kills the field, like I feel like for the big money shows, man, and series, I feel like you got to have a tire roll. Now, I don't know if you split the classes in half and give each tire brand, a tire like they do for the Big O. I don't know about all that, but I feel like the big races, you got to have a tire rule because then that keeps all the big races even and all the series is even, I think. But it's just, I don't know. I just feel like you can get away with it on local nights being open tire brand. People can race in their budget. They don't have to buy either and Burris is a great tire, a more expensive Burris or a more expensive Vega because they are true rubber, or you can go run Reaper or something. Like I feel like you can just race in your budget a little bit more with open tire at local.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and Liberty did that last year. Liberty down here in North Carolina, they did last year. They did they had Maxis or open classes and then Reaper only classes, and the same people ran both. So I mean, you can have multiple tires. Slicks. I don't believe we should go tread and slick the same day, but you can have multiple slick options in the same day and it work out perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, shoot. I know a Burris would when a track you thought it needed a Yellow Vega, a wiped up Burris smoked the field. I mean, I've watched that too. Whenever you think you got it figured out with a Yellow Vega and a Burris comes out there and kills you, it's like
that's sometimes Burris hit right and there ain't nothing faster. It's just like, that for everybody, it's all the tire gurus and really good at this and that, and they just strap up a unprepped set of Burris, one wipe, hit the track, and it's just like, whoo, where'd that come from?
There's a level where it's fun and you're racing every weekend and you're not really worried about the big checks, and then there's a level that everyone's trying to throw big money and everybody's trying to go race big races, and I think that's where a lot of the differences come in, right? And I think that's why a lot of people actually like the treaded stuff, because we don't have to prep the track. We're all on a treaded tire and you're just out there driving, right? You're not doping up. You're not trying to figure out how to go fast. It's, for me, I love being able to be gripped up and going around the corner as fast as a go-kart possibly can. Like that's the thrill, right? That thrill that I chase, but I see both sides of it. But I think that's the biggest difference is the local level, like you said, that can definitely be affordable. There's not a lot of money. We don't, the Vega puts up $200 to $500. They pick 2 classes every week. There's not a lot of money at it. But on the local side of it, we're getting 150 carts showing up to OSP. Some kids are out there on the Yokohama Yumahama tire, and some people got the Yellow Vegas because they don't have to do much to it, and then there's guys out there with a good set of Maxes. That's a lot of them are scuffing tires just to go race the big races, but even a sticker Maxis is fast.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all out there because they like it, and you're racing for a trophy and a picture at the end of the day, and I think that's where the big difference is. More of that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I wish it's just I've ruined myself in this sport. I feel, I've ruined myself in this sport, because what I used to would think would be fun to go race for just the trophy is now like I've turned into the person who's looking at the payouts to decide if I'm going to the race or not. And I'll be 100% honest there, like I hate that about myself, because I used to it used to be just for like the love of the sport. But I know this sport has turned it's just I've done that to myself.
Well, welcome to the dark side, right?
Yeah.
And just to piggyback on what Nick's saying, it wasn't an official poll or anything like that, but overwhelmingly the people who left a comment when we asked, would you prefer dirty tire rule or prep rule? Those that responded said dirty tire all day, and of course some of them added tread. But it does seem like the local racers pro dirty tire, whether it's treaded or slick. Either way, obviously, you got the big Labor Day dirty tire class coming up here at Paradise. So it'd be interesting to see what that turnout's like.
Yeah, and I'm not talking anything bad about the treaded stuff, because the treaded stuff can work everywhere with the right rules in place. But I feel like the people that run the treads feel like they have more of an advantage because maybe they're not up to date on the chemicals and stuff like that, or maybe they don't have the time to prep tires and stuff like that, and that's totally understandable. But one thing that they should know is, and I'm going to use Chase Williamson for an example. Your local Saturday night or Friday night racetrack puts up $500 or $1,000, and Matt Cannell and Chase Williamson's anywhere close, and they come running. Let me tell you, Chase is going to outdrive you. So at the end of the day, are you really getting beat on your tire program, or I'm just being honest with you.
Cream always rises to the top. Drivers and yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
that, go ahead.
We talked about this before, Peyton. Like treads are for a specific type of racetrack, and I think, once y'all talked about before is like, then you start kind of getting into a tread cycle, where you got to run them down, and then you got to practice these. Make sure you practice these tires for 2 or 3 weeks so you can run it down.
Yeah.
And then, you start taking oils out of them so they get harder so they can take, they start punching that 60, 62, and then you keep it's just if it's not the right racetrack, you get a tread cycle,
The tracks that we have predominantly around here are, they're as hard as my kitchen table right here. They're bit up. It takes a cut slick tire to run on them. And the problem is we have a measurement that we have to follow on our tread stuff up here. We have an 80,000 rule, and on a lot of these racetracks, 2 or 3 weekends on that track, those tires are done. They're chewed up past that rule. So I have to, and the treaded stuff's a little more expensive to buy.
I was gonna say,
and so that's the problem we have here is there's a split. We got people wanting to run the treads, but the tracks, in the middle of August here, you can't keep the track wet on a Saturday. It's 110 degrees. I don't care how much water you put on it. Tread it, in my opinion, is for a good Friday night, Saturday night, not really backyard, but like a track that you would typically run a Vega at.
A 5 to 6 hour show. You got to think of it as shows,
Yes.
right? A 5 to 6 hour show, because after that window's open, midday, that track turns. Hang it up.
100%. And you're only allowed to check in one set, up here. So if it starts off and, say it was raining that morning and you're like, oh, the track's not going to get too good today. So you put on that thicker set of treads you have, and then next thing you know, the sun comes out, it's 95 degrees. Well, the guy that chose to put on that thin set that he had is going to wax you,
Yeah, I mean, like, imagine putting a brand new set of treads on and going try and run at Alma in the summer, like it's like just
You see the money disappeared.
Yeah.
So Elena Harrison Wood said, I enjoy prep tire racing, love it, but I don't like seeing the kids come watch and want to do it. It takes passion to stick to prep. I'm not going to say we ran out, but most just want to turn laps and have fun. And so, again, I think that's the bigger point here is, your casual Saturday night racer. And again, I know everyone here, for the most part, I think understands the difference between the pro racing, right? The money side of it, and then the Saturday night racer.
Show it, and this is what I say for people that want to get out. For everyone in here, we've all raced a go-kart before. Show of hands, how many of y'all have loaded up after a race and have thought, did I really have fun today? I got my butt drugged today. I'll be the first one to admit it.
I've left the racetrack wanting to post my stuff on for sale on Facebook.
We have to understand that you're not going to win every Saturday, and I think that's the overwhelming problem. Is people think that they're going to buy, the best of the best, and then they go out there the first weekend and they get drugged, and they're like, oh, they're cheating, or they have more money in tires, or yada yada yada. Well, seat time and experience goes a very long way in this sport. So if you want to be at the top, you're going to have to be. That's the problem.
A mindset that you got to run by, and I think it's like good for just life in general. Is like you're not losing, you're learning. Every time you didn't succeed, you learn something how to get closer to succeeding. If you just won all the time, it'd just be no fun. It's just
pissed every time you leave the racetrack. You're not
100%. How many times have y'all run second or third, and y'all come off the track and you're like, oh my gosh, if I would have just a half a pound more air, I knew I shouldn't have took that tooth off.
Yeah.
That's how you learn. That's how you know the next week, hey, maybe I need to put that extra tooth on the back or go up a little bit on air pressure. A notebook, people don't take notes no more.
I think it's so critically key, as you said, notes, but I think you need to say you've been on a bad stretch and you go run second, or like I think what we kill ourselves on as racers and people and like dads and tire guys and stuff like that. It's like you had a shot to win. So it doesn't matter that you finished second, you had a shot to win and you didn't win. So like the day sucks, so like, I think, and you got to really be like, man, we finished second, we ran second. We were really good, had a shot to win. We were doing the right thing. Like, live on that moment and just try and win it the next time. Like, don't live on that you lost the race and you could have won, but you lost, but just live on the fact that you had even a shot to win, because most of the time, a lot of people would just love to have the shot to win.
Yeah. I live on the moment that I improved from last week, like, exactly. Yeah. It went from, okay, was I in the track this weekend or was I not in the
Yeah.
track? And then you get into the track, and then you, like you said, you start talking about the gearing, or what did I use at work, or man, I tried a little bit different air or tire split, the small like little detail things, and and those are those when you not say hit a home run, but you go, wow, I definitely noticed how I was more consistent today because I did this or did that. I take those as wins every time.
Yeah, it's the
I'm more to
small
the point. Go ahead, Ozzy.
So I'm odd one out here. I mean, I'll go out there and get mad because I drove a horrible race, then come in and get mad at Dad because he didn't hit on tires. I give him that. I give him that all the time, and he hates me for
That's the old Christian versus DIY, I guess.
That just means you,
I'm out there driving it like a late model, and it was all me. And I'll go in and blame it on Dad.
We'll get you a set of tires and have Dad get a set of tires and run 2 classes and see what you can pick up. Yeah.
So I want to bring up a comment here on the screen from Casey Leopard that I think is a great conversation and probably a topic that we could touch more on for future roundtable. But
Casey,
what's everyone's thoughts on why there's not more kids getting into karting?
People getting discouraged just from all the you go out there and it's just like what Peyton was saying like earlier. It's just you go out there and you got those people that have been doing this for a while, and or like you'll have people that are running good in the big clone classes and stuff, and then drop down to these beginner classes and they'll just smoke everybody. And I mean, it's hard to stay into it when if it keeps happening to you, then you're just it's hard to just stay in. And
yeah, trying to keep an emphasis on getting better. That's I try and do that as best I can. Like just what Peyton was saying, you're not going to win every week. It's just impossible to do that. There's a ton of talent out there. There's a ton of experience out there. Did you get better? And unfortunately, in my circumstance, I don't know, crested the hill, if you will. But I find that the enjoyment when I went to clone, that getting better is part of the fun for me. Like I haven't won in a couple of years. Okay, cool. That's, that sucks for me, but did I get better? Did I get faster? Did I improve on the day? And trying to not beat that into people's heads, but express, hey man, winning, I know if you're not first, you're last. I totally, I know that stupid statement. Did you get better? Did you have fun getting better? Did you make improvements? There needs to, as a parent getting kids in the sport, it needs to be, hey man, you can't win every time. Did you get better? How was the kart? Was it, was it fun to be out there? You passed somebody this week instead of, getting lapped. Promoting it to kids will bring them up and their attitude up. Hey man, you're really getting around there. Well, you went, 2 tenths faster this week than you did last week. It's that type of, parenting that has to be kind of instituted, if you will.
I got mine. Shout out Casey though. I mean, he's killing it at Pensacola. I mean, they have Brian coming down to his track, so I just want to give a shout out to him. But I think it's just not knowing anymore. There's just, like I talk about this a lot, is so we're all everybody's Facebook friends. But all your Facebook friends are all racing people, so they're all friends with the same people. Back in when I started racing, my home track would go to the newspaper and put it in the newspaper, and you'd see go-karts in the newspaper. You'd see clinics going on at school. You'd see it'd be on the radio. You have flyers, you had bobs. It's just like we're just recycling information to each other now because we're all the same. People are seeing the same thing. And I just feel like they just don't know. It's such a niche thing. I think it's the word's not getting out. I think that's one thing,
I think the word's a big thing. We have let's say we as Florida. I mean, Callahan. We went to Callahan last week. There was 11. We had 11 rookies.
That's
I think getting the kids there, and then all of us, not just us, just anyone and everyone, like seeing those kids on track when they're coming off and talking to them and giving them like words of encouragement and doing the same thing with their parents. If you got a parent that's new and fresh, like you got to help them out. You got to get them somewhere in a track where that it is enjoyable, because it only takes 2 or 3 weekends and they're like, yeah, no, forget this, I just, no way. So it definitely takes a community. We see it a lot. We see it a lot of the home track OSP. We have a novice A, a novice B. We have a rookie A and a rookie B. And it's hard to say, okay, we just added 4 more classes because that's a whole nother debate. But we're letting the kids that, even though they're rookies or they're a novice B is the first time, hey, 2 or 3 times on the racetrack, and then okay, we're gonna move you up, and then they see that little bit of improvement because we're in a world now where everyone needs instant gratification. So kids probably being the finest example of that. It's like, okay, well, I moved up class, or even though I was in the third, the worst rookie B class, they got on a podium because they got third because there's only 3 of them. Like they got a trophy, and they can talk about that. So the encouraging, I think, is a good point there, Alex, with bringing people in. Like, no, there's so many people that comment on my degenerate garage stuff. Like, I didn't even know this existed, and it's just like, yeah, it's great. Come have fun. Like,
Yeah, before kids can get out of the sport, we got to get them to the racetrack first. And I think when tracks need to do more stuff. Like even if a kid's not racing, well, all right, well, let's put in like a bouncy house during the summertime, some slip and slides, stuff like that for kids to enjoy. And kids would want to come to the track, and if they're around it, eventually they're going to pick up some interest. Like, no joke, that's how I got involved. When I grew up with my dad racing cars, and I remember I was playing football in the field behind the racetrack, as a kid, and then eventually it hooked myself, and that's how I got involved in the sport. And so if we can get the kids there and enough interest, and then like Alex said, when Providence opened up in 2011, nobody around here knew about this stuff. And our local newspaper started putting the results, in a section, and then I did a school project. I did a PowerPoint slideshow of go-kart racing that when I started at Providence, and how many people from my school got involved in the sport because of that. So as far as getting out of it, I think it's like what a lot of us has touched on. It's people, the expectations are high, and then they get disappointed quickly, and they just don't want to ride the wave, so to say.
You just got to get them to the track. I don't think there's nobody at the track, or there's nobody in a 10-mile radius that's having more fun than the kids that are hanging out the track. Like, just to the point, like all the parents I know are like, hey guys, like you've been running around nonstop for 5 hours. Like, you need to chill in the trailer. we still got a race. We still got some stuff to take care of. Next thing you know, they're riding by on a scooter or taking off or playing tag. Like, I think you just get the kids to the racetrack. It does wonders. And then track community helping them out in the situation to get them started.
Tori makes a great point here. I mean, Nick, I don't know, Nick, Ben, I don't know how many people have seen y'all's videos and gotten to racing. Even Thomas, like, you guys on YouTube and Ozzy and Michael. I don't, that's reaching things that never happened before. So that, we talked about the newspaper, but that's also pushing in a different direction that wasn't there before either. So I think, Tori said that they had found from TikTok and didn't even know a thing about it before then. So that's cool. That's cool to see,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still really new, and that's how I found out. It was purely through word. I had no idea about anything until I saw an old flathead cart sitting on Grandpa's shelf, and I asked Dad about it, and that kind of sparked a curiosity really early. And then once we got into it, I think the first race I went to, we went and just watched our regular local race, like Saturday night at Bell Rive, and just being there and watching it, it's like, man, I want to be out there on the track.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's a great conversation. Great question, Casey. Appreciate you putting that in the chat there. Definitely need to get back to that. But let's jump over to this or that if you guys are good with it, and we'll kind of get the question answered that we posted. I guess it would have been yesterday. It was, would you prefer dirty tire or tire prep rule? And we'll start with Alex there on the top.
Yeah, so I love what Adam does with his dirty tire rule. I think it's a cool idea, but I've selfishly put too much time in to understand tire prep, so I'm going to go tire prep. I can't give away I can't waste all that knowledge I had to build, So I'll give tire prep.
Ozzy?
I haven't done much dirty tire. I'm same with with Alex. I've just kind of tried to get myself so invested in prep. I feel like the prep game adds another level of being competitive because I started out in Predator classes, and I mean, with the momentum racing and having as close to same motors and stuff, prep game is huge. So I would probably have to go tire prep too.
It's tire prep for me.
I'm tire prep. It's just nature of the game, because once you go 15 miles an hour, you want to go 20 mile an hour, and that scale goes all the way through. So maybe, definitely prep tire.
I think I have run dirty tire once. I didn't hate it. I'd be all for it to run it, but that's, when you've been doing it for so long, I think it adds, like Ozzy was saying, it adds an element to the competition, because it's, karts in themselves are fairly basic, but this, adds an extra layer to it. Like, ooh, how good are you with your tires type of thing. So yeah, that's, I'm not going to, like these guys say, I'm not going to waste all that knowledge. It's like, I've learned this over this entirety. I'm not giving it up.
There's room for both. There's the entry level of life, but all five of us have, like, we're invested, right? Like Alex said, I had too much knowledge. Why would I go backwards?
Yeah,
you can't unlearn.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll do. We'll get back to where we kind of started the conversation, I guess. And there's a this or that. Open tire choice or spec tire. So just so we can kind of make it clear for everybody, where you guys come out on it, open tire choice or spec?
Open tire at local, spec on bigger races and series racing.
I am the same way. Open tire for local, so you're not having to pay for new tires for every track you go to, and then your bigger races, you can have a tire rule, make kind of, I don't know if it levels the playing field out, but it gets closer.
The fun part about open tire rule too is that Maxis, Reaper, Burris, Vega can come in and be like, "Hey, I'm going to pick this track tonight. $500 to win if you win on my tire." An incentive.
Yeah.
Incentives.
Friday night backyard, open tire, competitive Saturday tire rule.
Yeah, same across the board. Open tire, keep it simple for the guys, everyone local that wants to go out and have some fun and race for the trophy. And then, if we're putting money up and we're hanging out, we'll all execute on the same playing field.
I guess I'll break it up just to be done UAS I've been open tire this entire time. You kind of figure out what is fastest at what track, and you bring that, even though I don't like bringing every tire with me. I'll continue to do it, but I don't disagree with these guys at all. I think that they're, having the big money races, the big, Maximilians, the blah, 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 having a tire roll. Cool. I'm cool with that. And I'm cool with Saturday nights doing whatever they want.
Okay, so let's take it kind of a broader level. Strict rules or freedom to innovate?
Strict rules. We are our own worst enemy. We are our own worst enemy. We will find a way to bolt an LS7 on the go-kart if we could, and supercharge it. So strict rules, strict rules, strict rules.
Strict rules, because everybody wants to go faster, and like, if you're not enforcing rules, it's becoming unfair. So let's try to keep it in the same ballpark for everybody.
Strict rules and people to enforce it.
Amen. Airplane. Amen.
There it is.
If you got rules and no one to enforce them, they're just words.
Strict rules mean nothing without a governing body.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm torn again. Open. Do whatever you want to your engine, but you have to have parameters. You have to have bodywork rules. You have to have, there should be strict rules. And UAS, internally, you can do whatever you want, make as much horsepower out of whatever package it is. That's open, but the rest of it, there's strict rules. For clone stuff, absolutely, real strict rules. And like Peyton said, somebody enforce it.
I will say a good tire man will outperform a big motor. So that does go a long way too.
And to nod the hat to you, Ben, strict rules were made from innovation.
Correct.
There you go.
All right. Next, one universal rule book or series specific rules?
See, I'm really torn on this right here. I think one universal for uniformity, but then you get into the chances of putting too much power in one hand. So that's a dangerous little game you play there. But I do think series specific is very critical to, different tire rules and stuff like that, going to those tires. So I'm going to have to go 50-50 here. I don't really have a true answer because they both have their pros and their cons. You get too many rule books like we deal with sometimes, and then if you get one rule book, there's too much power in one hand almost. So,
See, coming from Predator, everybody will find something to do to it, and having multiple different rule books, which I've experienced this, just there's so many different combinations and stuff. Sometimes you just get lost in it. So I've always kind of been big about the one universal rule book so that I mount the motor on the cart and go racing. Then the next week, if I'm running the same class, I don't have to do nothing about it. I don't have to worry about what's on the motor. I can just go and race.
Yeah,
So I'm going to have to go one universal rule book.
Yeah, I think one rule book written by a racer, or people around racing, a committee to obviously write it together. I think as far as if we're going to try to unite this sport, then we're going to have one rule with one body.
Yeah, I'd say one rule book. Alex makes a good point of not being one person in charge, and said it well there. Having a committee, that and a revolving. It's got to be able to move and adapt.
Yeah, you gotta know who you're voting for.
Yeah. I'll take universal only because my experience again. I can race from East Coast to West Coast, same rule book, same playing field. This is what you got. If they could adapt that, somehow to the clone, Predator, 2-car, all that, I think it in general will be better. But the committee is, not just one dude making up the rules, but a bunch of people like this is the best way forward, and then be like, okay, that's cool. But voting them in would be excellent too.
All right, we'll do one more. This one's kind of fun because it's not real specific to tire or engine, I guess. But instant penalty or post-race review?
A lot of what we do has got to be what the call is. The call is the call. If we could have instant replay every race, I'd 100% say you got a timer until that checkered flag. After that checkered flag drops, you get 2 or 3 minutes to discuss it, make a final call. But we don't have that, so you got to go instant penalty.
Flag
Man, it gets wild in the Midwest, and I feel like I'll go to some tracks and somebody will get plowed through, and track won't even think about pulling the black flag. So I'm big about instant penalty, just because I don't like getting my crap tore up.
If it's something on the racetrack and we have instant replay, we can go back and look at it. If it means someone's going to get black flagged over it, the flagman makes the final call. But if it's something post race related, like an engine related rule or something, I believe once the call is made, it's final. In my opinion, I don't trust anybody to send my stuff off.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's got to be the call of the flagman, and that's coming from somebody who has recording every video, every race he's been in, and can argue 1,000 different times. It could have went in 20 different ways, but I think at the end of the day, it's got to be the flagman, and it just can't be fan favorites. It's got to be a trusted individual in the flag stand, which we don't get all the time, but it's got to happen quick. And now it's hard to say, hey, let's pause this race, let's stop these guys, let's do this. We got enough cautions and prolonged day as it is.
Yeah. It's bit me a whole bunch of time, the instant stuff. Flagman got it. I've shot the gap on a rock and they put me back to 6. It happens. That's racing, man. But anything altercations off the field, off the field of play. Yeah, that's deal with that at the time. But you got to go by the flagman because there's no way we some of the series, some of the local tracks run way too many cautions already. Caution laps, you're pacing around there. They can't figure stuff out. It's like, I can't only imagine if they're looking at videotape. Oh, no.
Yeah.
I got a quick question. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Nick.
No, I was going to say, there's already enough barking at the flag stand from down below. I mean, I can only imagine if we're all now united with a instant replay. It's great stuff, but
Yeah, you have a Megatron everywhere, just woo! And everyone's like screaming. Yeah, but like, are y'all an involved kind of guy, or are y'all like trying to place the blame on someone, like all involved and go to the rear, or is it trying to place the blame?
Oh, if you're involved in
It's,
the wreck.
it's all fun and
All
games till
involved.
you're involved.
Yep. Yep.
all involved unless you get taken out. But I guess you're
Yeah,
involved.
that's what I'm
in that
saying.
sense.
Yeah.
Somebody backboards you going into one because they thought they could carry a little more speed down the straightaway. Like,
Yeah.
What about spinning out to avoid a wreck?
Oh,
Yeah, that's it. So that's the thing. Like, it takes the pressure off of trying to blame someone, but it also there's innocent victims, you know.
Yep.
And who goes
Like
to the
our-
backpack?
like-
You know who
it's
goes to
kinda
the
like
backpack?
racing the no fault system, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
it's give and
That's-
give and take.
Also, the driving up and challenging for a spot when you know darn well you were involved in it. You dumped somebody. You think you're going to get your third back. No. Get back there. That's, come on.
What about when
Oh,
you're the
20
leader
cars.
and you get taken out? What about if you're the leader and you get taken out and they still put you to the back?
Leader taking
To-
a lap cart.
To the infield.
By the
Ooh,
second
helmet's
place
off.
guy. By the
Oh.
second place guy.
Sounds personal.
Not with the guy who got into me, with the race.
Yeah.
So
It's a
it is
thing
personal.
with the race. Yeah. With the race itself, yeah.
Well, we'll kind of wrap it up here, guys. You just want to just kind of give your closing thoughts on the conversation and kind of the big takeaways here. I guess, Alex, you want to start?
Yeah, man. So it seems like Karting Roundtable is going to start a committee, and we're going to have our own road book and stuff. And just kidding. No, man. I think it's great. Yeah, one rule book would be cool, and just making things more accessible and getting more kids into the racing to grow the sport. Because once we all grow out of it one day, and you got to have something filing in to replace you. So I think that's a huge thing to keep focusing on.
I think we need to focus on definitely sharing karting, making sure it gets out there, letting people know, just telling people about it, because I feel like nobody's mad if you're getting more people into the sport, and it's just, I feel like we shouldn't feel like at some point it's going to die out. So just keep sharing it. Just push it as much as you can.
Adversity. There's going to be, this sport is a perfect example. There's going to be highs and lows, and you got to push through all of that. You got to ride the wave. And then something that Ozzy's dad mentioned last week that nobody else really did was you got to have fun. You got to make sure that what you're doing is fun to you. If there's no fun involved in it, then why are you doing it? So if you can find joy in it, stick with it. And if it's not fun to you, then it's not for you.
Yeah, you definitely gotta be able to enjoy it. As far as in a whole takeaway, I love the discussions, and kind of someone just said it too. What we're doing for karting. We're not necessarily trying to knock anybody's door down. We're just trying to bring some light in all of our different regions and our different backgrounds. We chat all day long, during the week between all of us, and it's pretty cool to get all these ideas out and just talking about them. You can see the interactions we're getting from it, and I think it just kind of spreads voice across the board. Kind of being, the biggest word I would say is transparent. That's something our sport's missing is transparency, and what trickles from the top and heads down, and just making sure that we're all playing fair, so that we are having fun. Because when you're not treated fairly, you're not necessarily going to be having fun all the time. And I think we all agree we just want to have fun and win $10,000 at the Big O. But
Yeah.
or the World 100.
Yeah. Just get me in the starting lineup for the 100, so you can they can announce my name and I get a couple more viewers on YouTube.
Just don't take 17th, or else somebody's going to give you crap about it.
If it happens, I'm taking Tatum out. I know he's watching.
I did just in general. I really enjoy this. I'm super thankful to Daniel and Nick for being like, hey, why don't we do this weekly type of thing. I'm like, yeah, this is great. And then the chat started up, and it's a lot of fun to bounce off of one another, ideas, talk about this and that, and just getting together like this. I think it's a good meeting of the minds of people that have a very positive outlook on our sport and want to promote it as best we can. So I think just in general, this is a lot of fun for me.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll just say thank you all for your time. And I don't say that, just to say it. Again, this is kind of piggyback on what Ben said. The whole point here is really just to have the conversation that needs to be had, and maybe it's not always agreeing, but we're here doing it and bringing in a crowd to help join the conversation. My biggest takeaway tonight really is that dirt karting doesn't have a specific rule book or governing body. You've got other associations that really and different brands that have their own interests involved, which is fine. Again, I'm not knocking anybody, but there is not a unifying governing body for dirt karting, and I think there's definitely a need for it. I don't know what that looks like. I'm not saying this is it, but surely that this is the start of hopefully at least some more conversation, because there are enough people here watching, I think, that are promoters, that are track promoters, serious promoters, that do ultimately get to decide what rules they're implementing when it's time to race on a Saturday or a Friday and Saturday show. So again, what that looks like, I don't know, but I look forward to more conversation like this here at the roundtable, because that's the point of it, is to come together, put topics up for conversation, bring in the people who enjoy the sport, and hopefully, if we do this right, each in our own way, we bring more people into the sport, which I think is what we all want to, at the end of the day, do, and feel good about the time, the effort, in every case, the money that goes into promoting a sport that really, it's where else can you go and spend $20 to spend a day at the track with the people that you've either loved because they're family, or come to love because you met them at the track and built a racing family. And again, there's going to be things that happen. There are racing incidents, to use that in quotation, that everyone might not agree on, but ultimately it's about coming together for the good of promoting the sport and trying to lift each other up. Again, not to be too kumbaya about it, but we're here to help hopefully shine the light, and again get more people in, and hopefully improve the sport in some kind of roundabout way by having conversations. So again, thank you guys. And before we go, I do want to take a moment just to kind of make sure that you know where to follow or watch the guys that are here tonight. Ozzy Prater, Michael couldn't make it. Please keep him in your thoughts. He's going through a pretty serious surgery tomorrow, and so he's the other half of Prater and Son. Please go give them a follow. Michael Prater is posting regularly this type of thought-provoking conversation that we're having here tonight on social. So, and then of course they've got the YouTube. Alex Lavelle, Four Takes and Fuels. Wednesday, you said?
Yeah, every Wednesday morning we have fresh one out. We're not doing them this Wednesday. We had to take the week off, but it's usually every Wednesday.
Well, I appreciate you coming on your week off of your podcast.
Yeah, no,
so.
I wouldn't miss it, man. It's awesome what you do.
Peyton Ramsey, Ultimate Karting Media, one half of Ultimate Karting Media. You guys are doing Wednesday at 8:03, depending on how that ends up working out. But you have limited spots of your race coming up here, really in a couple of months, right? I mean, it's getting low, getting pretty thin. So if you want a spot, holler at them.
Yep.
Ben Taft, Kart 6T3. He's always dropping. He's live every Thursday at 7:30. I know that, and he's dropping stuff. What is it? Every Sunday? Just about
every Sunday, 7 a.m. It comes out my main video, and then I put out shorts and stuff as I kind of think of them or as I'm doing them. Yep.
Nick Bishop, Jenner Garage. I can't say enough about how thankful I am that he and I spent some time at the track talking post race I guess it'd be a month ago now at Capital City Speedway. And all that you do for bringing in people into the sport, which is obviously what we saw in the comments tonight. So yeah, follow Nick. Anything you want to plug or say about your channel?
I wish I could post weekly and on a time frame like the rest of you guys, but we're gonna post content as it comes in. I'm not playing the algorithm game.
Cool. Well, guys,
Hopefully.
thanks again, and I'll look forward to next week. And please, if you guys have any ideas, anybody in the comments out there, if you have a rule that you'd like to change in karting, drop it in the comments or shoot us a message. Love to have this conversation continue on. So until next time, see you guys.
Later,
See ya.
guys.
Later.